Hey everyone, it's Kevin, and in this video, I'm going to tell you why your New Year's resolutions are going to fail. If you want to control what you eat and control your body, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video. And don't forget to check out my new 7-day challenge, Stop Overeating in 7 days. You can find the link in the description box. It's that time of year again, and it's that time when we all make New Year's resolutions. We have a lot of hope for the future. We look back on the year that just passed, and we look at all of the mistakes and all the things that we can improve. This is okay to do. It's actually okay to want to improve yourself. The problem is waiting until the end of the year to finally make those changes and then expecting everything to change at the beginning of next year. This is a huge folly, and I'm going to explain why in this video. The first reason why your New Year's resolution is going to fail is that you're starting it on January 1st. Why start it on January 1st? I get it, it's the beginning of a brand new year. We like to think that our brains and our bodies are just gonna magically change overnight and that we're gonna be this new person when we wake up on January 1st after the hangover that we got on New Year's Eve, and then everything's gonna be okay from now on. The problem is, it doesn't work that way. Why didn't you start on December 1st? Why didn't you start on November 1st? Why didn't you start on August 24th? Why didn't you start on July 23rd? The fact that you've waited this long to make the change indicates to me that you're probably not going to succeed. Here's my New Year's resolution for you. Break your New Year's resolutions on New Year's Day. That way you can prove yourself once and for all that a new year and a new decade isn't going to produce a new you. It doesn't matter when you change. It only matters that you decide to change. The second reason your New Year's resolutions are going to fail is that you don't have a lot of willpower, and you overestimate how much willpower you're going to have. If you're eating, drinking, and being merry on December 31st and living it up, and you think you're going to be this Navy SEAL on January 1st, you have something else coming. It takes a while to change your habits. It takes a while to change the pathways in your brain that you've developed over many years. Habits aren't changed overnight, except when circumstances are really drastic and you're highly motivated. There are instances where people change cold turkey, but something tells me that that change has been building over time, and then one day they finally quit. The problem is you haven't been building any momentum, and if you want to change on January 1st, that process needed to start at least 30 days ahead. This is why I like to tell people that if you want to make a New Year's resolution stick, start it on December 1st. Better yet, start it on November 1st. Better yet, start it on the January 2nd of the previous year. That way you have an entire year to follow through on that New Year's resolution. You can't build a house in one day. You have to lay a foundation, you need wires, you need pipes, you need concrete. It takes a while to build a house, 3 or 4 months. That's how you need to see goal setting. It doesn't just happen over one night. You need to plan ahead. Number 3, you think it's going to be easy, and it's not. Tell me the last time changing a bad habit was easy. Our brains like bad habits. Our brains are kind of lazy. They don't like to change the way we do things. They like the status quo. They like to just do things as we've always done. And it's a really lazy organ, and it consumes a lot of fuel, probably a quarter of the energy that we burn. But the thing is, it likes to do things the way it's always been doing it, and when you try to change it, it detects a threat. Change is a threat according to the brain, and if you try to change too much at one time, it's going to set off alarm bells, and it's going to make it really hard to implement those changes permanently. Now, this isn't a reason you're going to fail, but this is a tip for you. Put process over perfection, and here's what I mean. You need to be really committed to the process of changing. Tell yourself you're not going to be perfect on January 1st. The fact is, you're probably not. If you have a bad habit of checking your phone too much, maybe you check Instagram 7-8 times a day, probably even more, or maybe you're checking Facebook at work. Just get the process rolling. It's not like you're going to check your email 50 times one day and then 0 times the next day. What if the next day you only checked it 36 times? Well, that's an improvement over 50. Emphasize the process, emphasize the change. Be addicted to the process of changing, not perfection, because the fact is you're not going to be perfect. Even if you are perfect, you're not going to be perfect for that long. It's really hard to do. It's hard to exert that much self-control and that much willpower over every little thing you do every day. Focus on those 1 or 2 habits that are having the most negative impact on your life. So if you can identify 30 or 40 habits you need to change, what are the 1 or 2 that need to change the most, and then focus on those. I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on the other habits, but you can't change all your bad habits all at once. You really need to focus on the ones that need to change. When I had binge eating disorder, I really focused on the binge eating. When I focused on all of these other little things, like all these other bad habits that I had, and I wasn't focused on that one thing that really needed to change, that's when I didn't change. That's why it was so hard, because I was so focused on all of these distractions in my life and all of these little habits that really didn't matter. Yes, they were bad habits and I needed to change them, but I really needed to focus on that one bad habit. Make a list of all the bad habits, identify one or two, and double down on those. Here's a tip for you. Get the process started, but don't focus on perfection. Don't focus on overnight perfection. It's hard to be perfect. In fact, you shouldn't strive to be perfect. A lot of people who are perfectionists end up developing eating disorders. That was me. I wanted to eat a perfect diet. And look where it got me. It got me 10 years of eating disorders. And it screwed up my entire third decade of my life. Had I just accepted my imperfections, and I had just accepted that I wasn't eating a perfect diet, and I had just focused on the big things, I would have been okay. You need to be impatient with starting the process and patient with the process. Don't do the opposite, where you're patient with starting the process but then really impatient when the process starts. Here's what I mean by that. If there's a change you need to make, start the process now, and then accept that it's probably going to take 2 or 3 months to finally change that habit in your life. But what a lot of people are doing, and what a lot of people do when they make New Year's resolutions, is that they're waiting for that day to come, okay, they're being patient, and then they want that change in one day. Do the opposite. Be impatient with the start, and then be patient with the process. Here's another reason why you're going to fail. You have no accountability. Nobody's watching you. Nobody knows what your goals are. Nobody cares about you. I've seen conflicting research on this. People who publish their goals, on social media, they actually have a lower tendency to reach your goals than people who don't do that. But it wouldn't hurt to have some kind of coach or some kind of mentor or a friend or some family member to keep you in check once in a while. When nobody knows about your goals, when nobody cares, when there's no cost to not reaching your goals, I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. It's really easy to just delay it again. Oh, okay. I screwed up this year. I can wait until next month, and then what happens is you're good for a few days, and then you screw up and you think, oh, it's all over. And this is why perfectionism is such a problem, is because you think you have to be perfect after that date. If you're not perfect, if you relapse once, then it's all over, and you can forget all of those resolutions. But if you have accountability, or if there's just a cost to not reaching your resolution, then you're more likely to stick to the resolution. So ask yourself this: what is it going to cost if you don't reach your goal? Promise yourself that if you don't reach your goal, you have to donate to an organization that you really don't like. Maybe give money to a political candidate that you can't stand, or some 501c that you don't like. There's actually a website that does it. It's called Stick To It. You can give them your money, and if you don't reach your goal, then you forfeit the money. Now, it requires a little bit of honesty on your part to do it, but what's the cost? Like, what if you don't reach this goal? Another reason why you're going to fail is you don't know why you're doing it. What are the reasons why you're setting this resolution? Why is it so important to you? How is your life going to be different if you reach this goal? Or if you create this new habit, or if you break this bad habit? How is your life worse with this habit? Why are you setting this resolution in the first place? If you're setting this resolution to impress other people, it's not a compelling enough reason. You need to have a good reason, or else you're not going to be committed. Remember, there are going to be roadblocks on the way, and this is another tip for you. You need to understand that setbacks are inevitable and that obstacles are inevitable. How are you going to deal with those obstacles when you reach them? What happens when you relapse? What's your recovery plan? How are you going to get back up when life throws you a curveball? What are you going to do then? Just because it's January 1st doesn't mean it's going to be an easy ride. You need to understand that life is complex. We're fallible human beings. Our brains aren't perfect. We have limited willpower. There's temptation everywhere. There's stimuli everywhere. You're probably not going to be perfect after January 1st. Accept setbacks, and you're more likely to keep going when you do have that setback. When you expect perfection after January 1st, the first obstacle you hit, you're just going to give up. Now, my last tip for you is focus on what you need to do rather than the outcome itself. Let's say you're starting an Instagram channel and your goal is to get 1,000 followers in the next 6 months. That's a cool goal. Have 1,000 people watching you. Really, only 1% are going to be engaging with your content, but still, let's just say 1,000 subscribers on Instagram. You can't really control that goal. That's outside of your control. But what are the things you can control? Can you control how many times you post? Can you control the quality? Can you control the message? What resources do you need to do well on Instagram? Do you need to get a coach? Do you need to buy a book? Do you need to watch videos? What are you going to do every day, every week, every month to make sure that goal happens? Don't focus so much on the goal. Focus more on the things that you can control. For example, weight loss. Maybe your goal is to lose 30 pounds in the next 6 months. Okay, that's not a bad goal, actually. The thing is, you can't always control the number on the scale. But what are the things you can control? You can control, obviously, what you eat, and that's why you're watching this channel, and this is the best place to be for that. Maybe you're stopping at fast food restaurants 4 times a week. Maybe you're drinking too many sugary drinks. I don't know what it is, but you need to identify those habits that you need to create in order to reach that goal. When you're on a diet or you're trying to lose weight, there are going to be obstacles. It could be the donuts every Friday in the office. It could be some social event. It could be stress. It could be an anxiety. It could be the neon sign flashing, hot donuts inside. I don't know what it is, but there's going to be all sorts of temptation, and there's going to be a lot of obstacles between you and the goal. Remember, your brain doesn't care about your success, doesn't care about your goals, doesn't care how you look or feel. It only cares about your survival. Your brain is not designed to set goals and achieve them. Just understand that. The biggest obstacle between you and what you want is right here. Those are the reasons why your New Year's resolutions are going to fail. I also provided you some tips on how to make sure you achieve your resolutions in 2020. What other tips do you have, and what are some other reasons your New Year's resolutions are going to fail? Don't forget to check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you next time.